We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become?
Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Look, Bumble knows you're exhausted by dating. All the, must not take yourself too seriously, and 6'1" since that matters, and what do I even say other than, hey? Well, that's why they're introducing an all-new Bumble, with exciting features to make compatibility easier, starting the chat better, and dating safer. They've changed, so you don't have to. Download the new Bumble now.
It's the most wonderful time of the year here on the Film and Whiskey Podcast. Bob, you know that can only mean one thing.
That means it's Cruisemas, baby.
Cruisemas!
We are looking at the life and times of our favorite actor named Cruise this time around, as we ring in Christmas the only way we know how. This is the Film and Whiskey Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome into the Film and Whiskey Podcast. I'm Bob Book.
I'm Brad G.
And this week, it is Cruisemas.
Oh, Bob, I am grinning ear to ear right now.
I know you are.
I love Cruisemas.
Man, once a year, we celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior by looking at the films of the world's most famous Scientologist. So it is a very ecumenical time here on Film and Whiskey, folks.
It sure is, guys. It is such a pleasure year after year to come back in the holiday season and look at two of our favorite Toms.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great time with Tom Hanks. You can go back and listen to our Hanksgiving Volume 4 episode where we reviewed Saving Mr. Banks. Today, we are going a little more, how should I say it, mature on the rating scale. This is not a Disney movie, folks. This is Tom Cruise in the 90s.
It sure is, in all of his R-rated glory. Back when Tom Cruise actually took risks, folks, that didn't involve jumping off tall buildings. We're talking about the 1996 box office smash global phenomenon, Jerry Maguire. A film, Brad, that you may be surprised to know I had never seen until earlier this year.
What?
It's one of those movies that's like, you know, it wasn't like the most dominant movie of all time at the box office. I mean, it made really good money, don't get me wrong. But it came out at a time in our nation's history, Brad, when you could be a big box office star and just have like one really big hit movie enter the cultural zeitgeist and just stay there forever. And so like I knew the poster for Jerry Maguire. I obviously knew Show Me the Money. I knew You Complete Me and You Have Me at Hello and all that. Like, I knew of this stuff. I had just never seen the movie around that stuff. And I gotta say, man, what an interesting movie. It went very differently than I anticipated the movie around those quotes was gonna go.
Yeah, I had seen this movie probably about 10 to 15 years ago, like anywhere from like 19 to 21 or so. And I remember really enjoying this movie and coming back to it. There are so many moments in this film where the charm and charisma of my boy Tommy Cruise is just on full display.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
There is also a moment about, I don't know, a little over halfway, 60 to 70% of the way through the movie, when I just looked at myself in the metaphorical mirror and was like, what in the world is going on here?
Yeah.
It seems like this movie's just meandering along. The scenes are dragging on to the point of becoming awkward. The dialogue doesn't always feel like it's real human beings talking to each other. And all of a sudden, Bob, I had an epiphany. Are you ready for it?
I'm always ready for your epiphanies, Brad.
Cameron Crowe.
Yep.
it just clicked in my brain. Bob, I am being genuine with you right now. I had no idea who directed this movie. For all I knew, it was like a Rob Reiner film, right?
So you just
Here
glossed over the opening credits.
Yeah, no, didn't pay any attention. And lo and behold, my spidey senses were correct. This is a Cameron Crowe film, and it's very obvious.
Yeah, so Brad is a noted player hater of Cameron Crowe. The guy did not like Almost Famous, which still blows my mind because I don't think I've ever met anyone who thought Almost Famous was less than like a 7.5. Like the worst reading of that movie was like, it's good. You did not care for that movie, and then you really did not care for Elizabethtown, which was one of the movies that I put up in our like teenage Bob and Brad season.
I don't think you liked that movie either, Bob.
No, but it's like it hit me at a specific point in life, you know? And when I watched Jerry Maguire, I was like, oh, this is just like a slightly better done version of Elizabethtown. Like it starts the same way. The middle pieces feel disparate and unconnected. And then the ending is like, it kind of connects those parts. And then there's another ending where it's like, this movie's going on a little too long. But instead of Orlando Bloom, you have Tom Cruise. And so it's just like an immediate step up from Elizabethtown.
Yeah. Well, and also like, I love Kirsten Dunst, but Renee Zellweger is a little bit of a step up from her as well.
I have spicy takes on Renee Zellweger when we get to that part. You know, I don't know what it is,
work
man.
For you?
You know what? Let's go ahead and do spicy takes now, I guess, on Renee Zellweger.
Spicy takes.
I think that Renee Zellweger is a really good actress.
Mm-hmm.
She just has a very specific energy that I just don't know if I vibe with her energy.
Can you give me 3 disparate words to describe her acting energy?
I can't. It doesn't make sense. Like she constantly seems like when the camera cuts to her and there's no one else in the shot, I constantly wonder, did she do this part of her performance in a different space than everyone else in the scene? Like, it just never seems like she's vibing with whatever the vibe of the other actors in a scene are. And I really noticed it this time around. There's a scene, I don't know, halfway through the movie where Cuba Gooding Jr. is faxed his new contract proposal from his team, and it's like way less than everybody thought it was going to be. And, you know, she has this meltdown where she's like sticking up for Jerry and saying like, he's broke and you people don't even realize that he's broke. And I'm like, Renee, you're just bringing a different energy than everyone else in this scene right now. And I don't know, man. It's a hit or miss thing for me where it's like, I don't think she's bad. I mean, the woman has won an Oscar, multiple Oscars, I think, at this point. But like, she's not my favorite actress, you know?
I do know.
I'm being generous because it's Cruisemas. And in the spirit of Cruisemas, we don't tear down other actors, you know?
We don't. Isn't she also our favorite line from Cinderella Man?
You're James J. Braddock. Braddock, the Bulldog of Bergen. What a great movie.
Oh, dude.
I love that movie.
It's such a spectacular movie. It's such a great scene. Here's the thing, man. Renee's not my favorite actress either. Like, I think she's decent, and she's solid in this movie. She gives the performance that we need. I think she's at her best when she's being like calm and cool and like turns that into a little bit of frazzled. Like where she goes from I'm confident around Tom Cruise to what the hell am I doing to Bonnie Hunt. Bonnie Hunt. Thank you. When she goes around her sister, Bonnie Hunt, played by Bonnie Hunt. It's not Bonnie Hunt.
The character's name, also Bonnie Hunt.
Playing herself.
Wow.
Oh, man. Whenever she gets around her and is a little frazzled, and it's moments like that make her endearing to you as the audience. But you're right. There are many, many points throughout the film where her energy just feels strange. This isn't her fault. But the opening, maybe not the opening scene, but when Tom Cruise is on the airplane in first class and she's giving like a little Henry Fonda speech on how the first class used to be for everyone, and now it's the people there that are the problem.
Yep.
What, like, her stare? I mean, maybe Cameron Crowe just has a thing for like creepy girls on planes.
Yeah.
But she stares at him so hard for so long.
Yeah, man. And the thing about it is, like, she's got the little cute kid with her, Jonathan Lipnicki, who developed his own career just out of being cute, weird-looking kid. Like, he parlayed this into Stuart Little. Good for him, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, the energy, again, that those two are giving off is like, why is Tom Cruise intrigued by these two? These are, like, the two most murdery people I've ever seen in a movie. I would never feel safe around those two people in that specific scenario.
Little Ray grows up to be Buffalo Bill one day.
I just don't trust a kid named Ray. Ray is an old man's name.
It really is. Isn't that Tom Cruise's name in Rain Man?
No, that might be Dustin Hoffman's name. I don't remember which one's which, but yeah. In either case, both grown men. Neither of them is a child named Ray.
They sure aren't.
All right, here's another spicy take for you. We need to get into Brad Explains, but I'm on the spicy take train today.
Mm-hmm.
Bonnie Hunt has always been a person that I have thought is older than she is. And I think she always plays older than she actually is, right? Like, she's really not that much older.
She's got mom vibes.
She has, like, huge mom vibes. But there's a part of me that's like, I think she has more chemistry with Tom Cruise than Renee Zellweger does.
Dude, the few moments that they interact are spicy, man.
Yes. I would like to see the Bonnie Hunt version of Jerry Maguire, is all I'm saying.
Where Jerry initially falls for Dorothy, but then falls in love with the older sister.
Yeah, where he's like, you have a weird kid named Ray. I don't like your vibes. Your sister seems pretty put together. I'm going to go hang out over there.
Yeah, her and all of her divorced friends. Bob, tell me this. Like, I understand that at the end of the day, the divorced women are there to, like, set up the, Renee Zellweger is now a part of the divorced man-hating club.
Mm-hmm.
But do we need all the setup for that one little bit at the end?
So that's the thing, is like, there are parts of this movie that are very much like a Nancy Meyers rom-com, where, like, if this movie was Something's Gotta Give or It's Complicated or something, and Diane Keaton had a group of divorced women meeting in her home, it's like, this goes with the vibe of this movie.
Right.
And that's what I always thought Jerry Maguire was. I didn't think it was like a weird existential midlife crisis drama wrapped up with a sports comedy, wrapped up with a romantic comedy, wrapped up with a romantic domestic drama. Like, it's so many things at once.
And you have the Cameron Crowe stand-in, this super creepy guy trying to convince him to listen to jazz while he has sex with the nanny's boss.
Yes.
It's great, man.
Just
it totally works.
All right. I think this is the perfect place for us to say, what the hell is this movie about? And in order to do that, it's time for Brad Explains.
Brad's gonna give us the movie plot with only 60 seconds ticking on the clock. So let's go ahead and hear your take with this little segment that we call Brad Explains.
Now, in the spirit of the holidays, we did this with Thanksgiving, so we'll do it with Cruisemas. Brad, we're just going to give an abbreviated rundown of this movie. Ooh. This was, I believe, your second time seeing the movie?
Yes, second time.
Okay. Well, we'll go with that at least. In 30 seconds or less, Brad, fill us in on what's going on in Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire is a film about a sports agent named Jerry Maguire who decides one night that the entire world is crazy, and he writes a manifesto, a mission statement to change the sports world. He gets fired, tries to keep some of his clients, only is able to keep one, and works his way into...
10 seconds.
I don't know. He sleeps with his secretary, and then they get married, and they shouldn't have, but then they make it work.
The end.
That's about it.
It is like a very long walk for a short drink of water in terms of, this is a movie about a guy figuring his stuff out. It is almost that
was a good one, Bob.
You've never heard that phrase before?
No, but it just fit perfectly. That was smooth, dude. Kudos.
It really is, though. Like, it's a very simple movie about a guy figuring his stuff out as he has a midlife crisis. But the movie takes so many twists and turns that you think it's going to become a different kind of movie 8 times. And then it just goes in the original direction after all. And you're like, oh, okay. Like it's so full of surprises. And then it's just like, nah, we're not going to do the surprises after all. You have the whole setup with Rod Tidwell, played by Cuba Gooding Jr., who wins an Oscar for this movie and is absolutely electric and great. And then you've got the setup of Renee Zellweger and their meet cute. And then halfway through the movie, they get married. I did not see that coming. What the heck was that? And then all of a sudden he's talking with Cuba Gooding Jr. about how, I don't think this is going to work. We're going to get a separation. And then so the movie ties itself back up with them reuniting, with Cuba Gooding securing his contract, and all is made well. But really what it's about is Jerry Maguire learning how to be a husband, a father, a responsible agent, a selfless human being. It's a good movie, but...
And a sexy brother-in-law.
A sexy brother-in-law to Bonnie Hunt. We need to
Bonnie
reiterate, he should be with Bonnie Hunt.
Yes.
Forget you, Ray.
Dude, also, here's the thing. The whole divorced women's club doesn't make almost any sense, but it does, highlight the level, the heights to which Renee Zellweger's character has risen, that there's all these very average-looking divorced middle-aged women, and then Tom Cruise walks in,
right,
and he's just perfect.
Now, listen, also... I do not begrudge. I don't hold anything against anybody who has been through a situation like divorce. I don't know that I know of any divorced women's groups that meet in each other's homes. This seems very peak 90s to me. Like, you have to remember, this was the era of men are from Mars, women are from Venus taking over all through the 90s. This is very 90s.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Brad, let's talk a little bit about the rest of this cast. We've talked about Zellweger. We've talked about Bonnie Hunt. I think we should talk a little bit about the supporting roles, especially Cuba Gooding and Regina King, who, if I'm being frank, she's the best person in the whole movie. Far and away the best, unless you want to consider his younger brother the best actor in the movie, because he very clearly kicks it up a notch for this role. Well, then you've got Jay Moore, the comedian, playing the douchiest agent of all the agents
in the world.
Yeah, it's got a really good cast. I really appreciated seeing all these people, and it's one of those movies, kind of like when we talked with Saving Mr. Banks, where you could stack a movie with a ton of upper B to A-list actors in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th lead, and it nobody batted an eye at it, Whereas today, I don't think you get that. No, not at all. You also had Troy Aikman, height of his career, telling Jerry Maguire, "I really liked your memo." Yeah, I was like, Troy, you've never read a memo, Troy Aikman. Come on,
you don't know how to read.
We know how many times you got concussed. Come on, dude.
Dude, let's talk about Cuba Gooding Jr. because he wins the Oscar here, and I would say deservedly so. I don't know the competition, but man, oh man, he is wild in this movie, and he might be one of the few characters that feels like he has a through thread keeping him attached throughout the entire movie. Yeah, it's an interesting performance because I've seen people in the years since this movie say, yes, it was deserved. And then the other end of the spectrum is this is an embarrassing performance. Not that it's just the performance, but it's also he is the only, aside from Regina King, he's the black person in this movie. And he's out there being oversized and belligerent. And so I've seen some takes on this performance that are of course, the white people in the Academy would love this performance, but not honor Regina King's performance, And so I've gone back and forth with it. I think it's a really committed performance. I think that it also does mirror some of the big egos we saw in the NFL in the late 90s and early 2000s. No. That character fits right in with a T.O. or a Randy Moss. And gasp.
I know, right? I mean, listen, I've been watching, I'm a huge college football fan. I've been watching Deion Sanders all season, and that dude is just as swaggy gets. And so Rod Tidwell fits right in. I think it's a good performance. It's just not my favorite performance in the movie.
No, not. I don't know if I'd say not at all. It's close to being my favorite performance. I think that what he brings to the table is a level of sincerity that really helps ground Tom Cruise's character. And I think I could say the exact same thing about Regina King.
Mm-hmm.
Like between the two of them, they just bring this emotional stability, even in the midst of Cuba Gooding Jr. playing this wild, crazy character. You can tell that he has a good heart and that he knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I really love about his and Regina King's characters is that they keep things moving forward at a slow and steady pace, even when it feels like everything else is kooky and weird and way too much Cameron Crowe going on.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become? Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Remind me, in the course of the movie, the scene where Rod is injured on the field at the end of the movie and he's talking to Regina King on the phone, is that before or after the You Complete Me scene? I feel like he goes to the house after that, right?
Yeah, he goes to the house like immediately after that.
Here's the theory that I'm developing in real time.
Ooh.
I think that Regina King's emotional scene is so good that it is what lost Tom Cruise the Oscar for Best Actor.
Oh.
Because the only time in this movie that I actually found myself getting choked up is when I was watching her react to her husband being injured on television, and the worry and the anxiety and the utter hopelessness and the love pouring out of her. It's so authentic. And then Tom Cruise, and listen, Tom Cruise, one of our great living actors, doing the You Complete Me scene. It's good, and it's really good, but I don't find myself getting the sniffles at that scene the way I did with Regina King. And I almost wonder if it's like, she's so good in her scene that you're almost comparing it to Tom Cruise's scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's kind of like when you have the independent that's, liberal leaning and he steals votes from the liberal or opposite.
Sure.
Like, yeah, you're taking a little too much attention away for the Academy to be like, well, this is all Tom Cruise carrying things.
Regina King, the Ross Perot of this movie.
Exactly. Here's my question for you. Have you seen the movie Shine?
With Jeffrey Rush. I have not. I have always known it solely as the movie that won Jeffrey Rush an Oscar. And yes, I think that's kind of how most people remember it now.
Well, that was my curiosity is, instead of comparing my boy Tommy Cruise to Regina King, I think we need somebody to come on and compare him to Jeffrey Rush and see if the Academy screwed the pooch here.
It kind of seems like they did.
It's crazy to me.
Sight unseen, I will say they did.
It's still crazy to me that Tom Cruise does not have an Oscar.
I can't believe that he hasn't gotten nominated for some of his most recent stuff. You have heard me openly campaigning on this podcast for the fact that, like, if we're going to honor Leo for going out in the wilderness and eating a liver and stuff, like, Tom Cruise learned to fly a helicopter. Tom Cruise was in the cockpit of a fighter jet.
Yes.
You know who doesn't do that? Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington.
Nope.
Daniel Day-Lewis. When has Daniel Day-Lewis ever flown a plane? I rest my case, sir. Hashtag Cruise for Oscar. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. We need to get Cruise an Oscar, Bob. It needs to happen.
Now, with that said, this is an interesting phase in Cruise's career because it's almost like when you're watching The Aviator or anything pre-Revenant Leo, where there's always a sense of like, I can feel him trying to win an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
And like Cruise is really good. And I don't feel like he's mugging, like he's in the moment in this movie, but you could tell behind the scenes, he was like, this is going to be the one. I want my Oscar.
Yeah.
Like, give it to me now. Whereas, Cruise nowadays, he doesn't even take risks anymore because I don't think he expects to get nominated. And so he's just doing what he knows will work. back in, the mid 90s, he's still at the height of his popularity. And it has that like Leo in Shutter Island type vibes to it.
Yeah. Does that detract from the performance for you?
No, this is one of my favorite Cruise performances. I think it's an excellent performance.
Yeah, I think that Tom knocks it out of the park here. So I'll call out to a specific scene. I would dare any fans of The Office to watch this movie and not recognize how brilliantly awkward Tom Cruise's exit from the office scene is. It is the most perfectly humiliating, gut-wrenching, like makes your skin kind of crawl, awkward exit that I've ever seen in a movie.
It's very good.
Oh, it's incredible. And I'll give Crow his credit here. The way he films it from like an upper level, you see the entire office as Tom and Renee walk out, and it pauses 2, 3, 4. Everybody goes back into action, and it's like they were never there to begin with. The whole world has moved on without them. I thought that was probably the best shot of the movie, and that the entire scene leading up to it was vintage peak Tom Cruise.
All right, Brad, I think we're in a good spot to hit pause here. We'll come back and give some final thoughts on the movie, as well as some other Christmas-related spicy takes. All right, we are back on our Cruisemas episode. Brad, do you guys have any special Christmas-related traditions that you do in the G family?
Yeah. We're actually starting this one this year. It's been on our brains for a long, long time. When Haley and I were first married, we, for some reason, we were like, hey, we should just it's Christmas Eve. Let's sleep out by the Christmas tree. And I remember saying to Haley, man, I can't wait to do this with our kids someday. And here we are with a 3-year-old. And 3 years old seems like the perfect age to start the Christmas tradition of spending Christmas Eve. We'll drag the twin mattress out and some couch cushions and go all sleep as a family out in front of the Christmas tree.
That sounds awesome, dude. That's such a good idea.
Yeah.
Now, wait, when do you put the presents out, though? How are you going to coordinate that?
We'll put the presents out before we go to bed.
Got it. Okay, so are you're not doing Santa for her at all?
No, yeah, we don't do Santa. If we want to get, you already did spicy takes, Bob. So I don't know if you want to let me into this territory.
Yeah, go for it.
Not a big fan of the telling your kids about Santa, like Santa is real movement.
Yeah. You know what? We've just avoided it.
I don't like lying to my kids.
It's really interesting. We just haven't done it, and our kids really have had there haven't really been a lot of questions about it. I was asking my older son yesterday, and he was like, Santa's not real. And I was like, why do you say that? And it was actually kind of heartbreaking. He was like, because if he's real, why doesn't he bring me anything? And I was like, dude. So I'm currently navigating whether it's time to just go ahead and confirm to him, or if I should make him think Santa's real and just hate him,
Because if he was real, why?
It was I was like, oh man, this came back to bite me.
Yeah, maybe you should have been honest with them way earlier.
Yeah, but then you got to worry about them going to school and telling all their friends. You never want them to be the first kid that ruins it for all their friends.
No, I know. Haley and I have talked about that. She heard somewhere about you can kind of get around it, be like, yeah, Santa's real for some families, and for our family, mommy and daddy give the presents, and I don't know.
Yeah,
it's I just don't like lying to my kids, man.
I get it,
Not
dude.
A fan.
Well, Brad, my Christmas spicy take, as it is every year. I don't know if I've ever shared this on the podcast, but when I listen to Christmas songs on the radio, there's only 5 songs they play, and they just play them by different artists repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
I have my favorites and my least favorites. I'm pretty famously not that big of a fan of the song Last Christmas by Wham. But even beyond that, there is one Christmas song that just absolutely infuriates me. And
if you say White Christmas, I'm ending the podcast.
No, it's not. It is a song called I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. Because there are 2 ways to interpret this song, Brad. In the context of all other Christmas songs, which presuppose the existence of Santa Claus, nothing in the text of this song specifically says that Santa Claus isn't real, right? So the predominant interpretation of this song is, of course, Santa Claus isn't real, and this kid saw his dad dressed up as Santa Claus, putting presents under the tree, and assumed mom was kissing Santa Claus.
Right.
Now that opens its own can of worms. For example, why is this man dressed up like Santa Claus if he doesn't know whether or not his kid is watching him? What is his mom into? You know?
Well, I was about to say.
But also this kid now thinks that his mom is an adulteress and that she is cheating on dad with this strange man who came down the chimney.
Who comes once a year, brings them presents,
bangs mom and leaves. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one insanely problematic interpretation. The other insanely problematic interpretation is, what if Santa Claus is real, right? Because we presuppose the existence of Santa Claus. Then the kid has seen correctly, and his mom is in fact cheating on his dad with Santa Claus. There is no good outcome to this song.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the word, but cuck seems to apply here.
Yeah, someone's getting cucked in this situation. And I don't like it.
Not a fan. Also, it seems like that kid is going to go off to college one day and like, you know how kids go to college and they have like something really weird that they believe because their family like never dissuaded them of it?
Sure.
This kid's going to go off to college and be like, guys, no, I know that Santa's real. This is kind of weird, but I'll just say it, like, my mom's been sleeping with Santa Claus for like years now.
I feel so bad for that kid in the song, especially like if you listen to the Jackson 5 version, because Michael Jackson's like trying to convince all his brothers. And at the end of the song, please believe me. You gotta believe me. It's like, oh gosh, this kid has no one in his corner.
You mean Michael Jackson had issues as a child?
I know, right?
Because of his family doing weird things.
His family and Santa just absolutely picking on him. All right, man.
That's a very specific thing. I have to ask, do you have any like good traditions that you can uplift our spirits with?
So my wife's
besides your son not knowing that Santa.
Oh my gosh, dude. I have just a moral conundrum facing me this Christmas. My wife has a very large Italian family, and so every year, it's actually a few weeks before Christmas, but all of the siblings and aunts and stuff get together and they make a gigantic batch of ravioli, like handmade ravioli. And so we have like 100 dozen ravioli between like the entire family on Christmas. So it's really cool. This year we hosted Ravioli Day. So it's like, I mean, it's chaotic and there's flour everywhere and people are rolling out dough all day. But like, you know, my family was pretty small growing up. And so like we were really tight knit, and Christmas Eve was kind of our thing more than Christmas morning. Like we would have like, we were allowed to open, I think, 2 presents or something on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas morning was the rest of it. But getting indoctrinated into the large family format was eye-opening for me, to say the least. But it's a really cool tradition.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's always so much fun to have those, I don't know, just those yearly rhythms that you get into. Like, you know, for us, we have my parents and her parents come over on Christmas morning, and we make biscuits and gravy and blueberry coffee cake and Hartzler's eggnog, obviously.
Oh my gosh.
Like, and it's just a glorious morning, and I feel fat and happy, and my kids have presents, and man, Merry Christmas, Bob.
Merry Cruisemas, sir.
Merry Cruisemas indeed.
Let's give some final thoughts on this film before we get out of here, Brad. You've kind of hinted at your Cameron Crowe non-appreciation. We've also
the Crow of it all.
We've hinted at the Tom Cruise of it all and how we really like it. I'm really struggling with this movie. I feel like the ending almost lands the plane. Or like it does land the plane, but it was one of those like landings where, you know, maybe you lost some landing gear on the way, but everyone survived, you know? It's just really hard to tie everything together. And the ending of this movie really does pack an emotional wallop, and that's what you remember, but it's just shaky getting there. And so I think if I was scoring it out, I'd be somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8. But when I put on my like logic cap and not just my emotion cap, I think it's like a 7.5 for me.
Do you always ruin Christmas with your logic cap, Bob?
I do. Yeah. It's actually, once we get everything out of the stockings, I say, all right, now it's time for Dad to put on his logic cap.
Let me pull out my calculator and show you how much everything costs.
I put on my cap and I say, now, if you logically interpret, I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus. Just ruin it for everyone.
Your son is like sitting in therapy 15 years from now. I don't know why my dad would never just let Christmas be fun.
What's your score on this movie, man?
I think I'm at an 8 out of 10, Bob.
Okay.
I think it's really fun. I think there's moments that are brilliant and funny, and you just have lots of great chemistry. I think that what makes a Cameron Crowe movie good is when he has great actors to distract from the fact that his scripts suck. His direction is often wonky. He lets scenes drag on way too long. But when the scene is dragging on way too long with Tom Cruise as the main subject, it's a little easier to swallow. Mm-hmm. So I think out of the 3 Cameron Crowe films we have now watched on this podcast, which is crazy, I'm sure that there are a lot of much better directors that we've only watched like 1 or 2 films from. I think this is my favorite.
Well, there you go. A Cruisemas miracle, folks. So we hope that you've been enjoying our special episodes from our friend Zach Johnston over at Uprocks, but it is time for us to take back over the Film and Whiskey feed. The next time you hear from us will be our Season 8 preview bonus episode, which is coming later this week. And then starting Tuesday of next week, we are going full steam ahead with Season 8. Brad, should we spoil what the theme of Season 8 is, or should we save it for the preview?
We watch movies and drink whiskey.
There it is, folks. You heard it here first. Well, I do want to.
I will give you a Christmas present spoiler. I'm going to say one word: Rain Man.
That's 2 words, but that's okay.
I think the title is it?
It's 2 words. It's not Rainman.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman. Well, folks, from all of us here, and when I say all of us, I mean both of us here at Film and Whiskey, I want to say Merry Christmas. Not just Cruisemas, but truly Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is that you might celebrate in your home. I'm so grateful, Brad, that we get to do this every year, and that now this is our second time doing Cruisemas, a really great Christmas tradition.
Yeah, I'm already, scheming away at the next Cruisemas movie that we're going to watch. Guys, it is such a blessing to have you in our lives. We love this podcast. We love you guys, our listeners. And we just hope that you have an absolutely blessed holiday season. Ring in the new year well. Have a great time with your family and friends. And just remember, enjoy the little things in life because they're such a blessing.
And more importantly than anything, show me the money.
You got to make me believe it, Bob.
No. Well, for the Film and Whiskey podcast, I am Bob Book.
I'm Brad G.
And we'll see you next time.